Welcome back to the deep dive. It is January 2026, and the dust is finally settling on the Brussels Motor Show. If you have been scanning the headlines this week or even just casually scrolling, you probably noticed a theme.
Oh, definitely. The European market is it's getting crowded.
And the electric transition is entering a really specific, very competitive phase.
It feels like the era of the early adopter is officially over. We're moving squarely into, mass adoption territory. And the tolerance for quirks or high prices is just disappearing.
Exactly. And to navigate that shift, we aren't looking at some million-dollar supercar or a concept vehicle that won't exist for 5 years. We are focusing on one specific debut that I think signals exactly where the compact SUV landscape is shifting.
The Leapmotor B03X.
Leapmotor B03X.
A vehicle that's been floating around the rumor mill as the A10 in China for a while. But this Brussels debut, this is its official European coming out party.
Right. And just to frame this for everyone listening, because it is so easy to get lost in the startup of the week noise, this is not just another company throwing a battery on a skateboard chassis.
No, not at all. This car is the first real, tangible fruit of a massive strategic partnership between Leapmotor and the Stellantis Group.
Which is a crucial distinction.
It is. You've got the agility of a Chinese tech-focused manufacturer paired with the industrial muscle and distribution network of a European giant. It's a B-segment electric SUV.
Which puts it right in the Shark Tank.
The absolute Shark Tank of the European market.
It really is. So here's our mission for this deep dive. We've pulled the reports from Motor One Italy, Electric Cars Report, and Green Car. We are going to strip away the marketing fluff.
No dynamic souls.
No emotional journeys. I want to know, does the spec sheet back up the hype? We're going to look at the engineering, the battery tech, and the manufacturing strategy to see if this car is actually a contender or just another participant.
And I think that's the right way to approach it. We need to look at this car as a shortcut to understanding the current state of the EV market, specifically how manufacturers are trying to balance high tech with accessibility without cutting too many corners.
Okay, so let's start with the physical reality of the thing. We've seen the photos from the show floor. It's
Right.
distinct. The source material uses the word clean a lot. How are you reading that design language?
Clean can be code for cost-effective, but here it really seems to be an aesthetic choice, and one that's driven by aerodynamics. Leapmotor has avoided overstyling it.
Right, there are no fake vents or anything like that.
No aggressive creases just for the sake of it. You have a closed grille, which, we expect on an EV, but the pairing with that trapezoidal air intake and those oval headlights gives it a very specific face.
The oval headlights really stood out to me. In a market where everyone's doing these squinty, aggressive, angry robot eyes, this looks, I don't know, almost friendly.
It's almost retro-futuristic. It gives it identity without looking predatory. But you mentioned that clean look. That's not just vanity. The sources all highlight that this smoothness, this semi-hidden door handles, it all serves the drag coefficient.
The CX numbers, we always touch on this, but for a car like this, why is it so critical?
Well, the BA3X hits a drag coefficient of 0.26. To put that in context, an SUV is naturally fighting physics because of its height, its frontal area.
It's a brick pushing through the wind, basically.
It's a brick. Getting it down to 0.26 means the car just slices through the air so much more efficiently.
Less of a brick, more of a wedge.
Exactly. And the practical application of that number is highway range. At motorway speeds, air resistance is your biggest enemy. It eats up battery life faster than anything. A lower CX number directly correlates to better range.
Meaning you don't need a massive, heavy, and expensive battery to get decent mileage,
You're using geometry to get efficiency.
which keeps the cost down. Okay, let's talk size. We keep saying compact SUV or B segment, but cars are getting bloated. How big is this thing actually?
It's surprisingly disciplined. It's approximately 4.2 meters long, 1.80 meters wide, and 1.60 meters high. The wheelbase, so the distance between the front and rear wheels, is 2.60 meters.
4.2 meters. That is effectively the Goldilocks zone for Europe, isn't it?
It really is. It's small enough to parallel park in Paris or Rome without having a nervous breakdown, but that wheelbase suggests there's enough room inside to actually use it as a primary family car.
So you aren't sacrificing the backseat just to fit in a parking space.
And looking at the rivals the sources brought up, the Renault Megane E-Tech, the Volvo EX30, it's clear who they're targeting.
The Volvo EX30 is a really interesting comparison. That car has been a runaway success because it feels premium, but it's small.
Exactly. The B03X is trying to muscle into that same space. The sources also mentioned the new Ford Puma Gen E and the Vauxhall Mach-E Electric.
It is a very crowded field. You can't just show up. You have to offer something different.
Well, looking at the rear design, there is a little callback that might catch the eye of European buyers. Motor One Italy noted that the rectangular light clusters, the way they extend onto the sides,
Yeah.
it's a little bit reminiscent of the first DS3.
Oh, that's a depth cut. The DS3 was a style icon. If they can evoke that kind of chic factor while keeping the price down, that's a smart move.
But a pretty face doesn't get you up a hill. Let's get under the floorboards. What's the engineering story?
This is where the partnership gets really interesting. The B03X sits on the Leap 3.5 global platform. Some sources call it Leap 3.0, but the version number matters less than the layout.
Which is
rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive. In a mass-market compact SUV, usually manufacturers go front-wheel drive for packaging or cost. Why go rear-wheel here?
two main reasons, really. First, driving dynamics RWD generally feels more planted, more agile. You don't get torque steer when you accelerate hard. But the sources suggest the main reason here is actually space maximization.
Explain that. How does putting the motor in the back make the cabin bigger?
When you move the motor to the rear axle, you free up the whole front structure. You don't have a bulky engine block or transmission tunnel intruding into the cabin. You can push the dashboard forward. You get a completely flat floor.
Right.
It lets you carve out more passenger volume within that same tight 4.2-meter footprint.
It's the classic EV skateboard advantage, but really utilized. And in terms of grunt, what are we looking at for output?
The European spec sheet lists an electric motor producing 170 kilowatts.
Which translates to what?
About 231 CV, or to put it in terms most of us are familiar with, roughly 215 brake horsepower.
215 horsepower in a B-segment SUV. 10, 15 years ago, that was hot hatch territory. That was a fast car.
It still is. Compare that to a base model Puma Gen E or even the entry-level Megane. 215 horsepower is going to feel very, very zippy.
It's more than adequate for merging onto a highway.
It gives you confidence. But let's be honest, nobody buys a compact electric SUV just for the 0-60 time. They buy it based on how far it goes before it dies. We have data on two battery options.
Okay, break them down for us.
There's an entry-level pack at 52.9 kilowatt hours and a higher tier version at 69.9 kilowatt hours. And the chemistry of that bigger pack is important. It's lithium iron phosphate, LFP.
We are seeing LFP everywhere now. Tesla, BYD, why go this route for the bigger battery?
It's a deliberate trade-off. LFP batteries are a little less energy dense than traditional NMC batteries.
Yeah.
So they're a bit heavier for the same amount of power, but, and this is a big but, they are significantly more durable. They handle being charged to 100% much better, and critically, they're cheaper and safer.
So you carry a bit more weight, but the car lasts longer, it's less of a fire risk, and it costs less. That seems like a smart play for this segment.
It's all about value.
Now, the range figures, this is where listeners need to pay attention because the numbers can be misleading if you just read a headline.
Extremely misleading. The press release quotes the Chinese CLTC rating for the large battery at 530 kilometers, which is about 311 miles.
But we know the CLTC cycle is, let's call it optimistic.
That's a very polite way to put it, yeah. It involves a lot of slow-speed city driving that really flatters EVs. If you try to drive 311 miles on a motorway at 120 kilometer rate based on that number, you're going to be calling a tow truck.
So what's the real-world number?
When we translate that to the WLTP standard, which is what you'll see on the sticker in Europe, our sources estimate a realistic range of 350 to 400 kilometers.
So roughly 250 to 300 miles.
Exactly. And to be fair, for a B-segment SUV, that is the sweet spot. It covers almost every daily use case and handles the occasional long trip without constant stopping.
Especially if you can charge it fast. Range matters less if charging is painless. And the claim there is pretty big.
This is one of the standout metrics. Leapmotor claims a 30% to 80% charge in approximately 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That is approaching gas station stop timing.
It really is. It changes the psychology of ownership. A 15-minute stop is a coffee and a bathroom break. It is not waiting around in a parking lot.
Not sure.
If real-world testing validates that speed, it removes a huge barrier for people who don't have driveways. You can charge it while you run to the grocery store. It makes the car truly road trip capable.
Okay, I want to pivot to the interior and the tech, because this is where Chinese OEMs usually flex. Leapmotor's CEO, Dr. Lei Jin, was quoted discussing 3 specific dilemmas they're trying to break.
It's a very aggressive mission statement.
Yeah.
He said they want to disprove the ideas that 1, premium must mean expensive, 2, small cars must be low-tech, and 3, compact dimensions must sacrifice space.
Small cars must be low-tech is the one I want to unpack. European manufacturers so often decontent their small cars. They take features out to protect the margins on their bigger ones.
They absolutely do.
Hmm.
And the B03X seems to be countering that by just throwing sensors at it.
Hmm.
The pre-series model in Brussels had a very interesting setup. It didn't have the roof-mounted LiDAR we've seen on some high-end prototypes, but
That
it featured cameras and blind spot sensors integrated directly into the front wing.
and to the wing, so like side-facing.
Yes, it's a placement you rarely see on urban crossovers. It implies a much wider field of view for the ADS, the Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. It suggests they're trying to bring Level 2 plus autonomy features down to this price point.
So the car is watching the road with the same fidelity as a car twice its price? What about the cabin itself? Did we get a clear look in Brussels?
Not for the B03X specifically, no. The doors were locked on that model. However, we can triangulate. At the same show, Leapmotor did reveal the interior of the B05.
Which is the hatchback sibling on the same platform.
Correct,
Yeah.
and the B05 interior was very telling. We saw ergonomic seating, high-quality soft-touch materials, and a completely digitalized environment. Huge screens, very few physical buttons.
The smartphone on wheels approach.
Exactly. If the B03X follows that, expect a minimalist, screen-heavy cabin that feels much more expensive than it is.
Now, speaking of technology, there was a bit of a curveball at Brussels. We were all looking at the B03X, but then Leapmotor rolled out a B10 hybrid EV.
This is where that Stellantis partnership could get really strategic. The B10 showcased REEV technology, range-extended electric vehicle.
We need to define this carefully because hybrid has become such a muddy term. What makes a REV different?
Think of a REEV as an electric car that carries its own power plant. In a traditional plug-in hybrid, the petrol engine is connected to the wheels. It can drive the car.
Right.
In a REEV, the petrol engine has zero connection to the wheels. It's purely a generator. Its only job is to spin, generate electricity, and feed the battery or the electric motor directly.
So the driving experience, the torque, the silence, the smoothness is 100% electric 100% of the time.
Precisely. You get the EV driving dynamics, but you have a jerry can in the form of a gas tank. If the battery dies, the generator kicks in and you just keep driving.
And why does this matter for the B03X?
Because the sources suggest this tech, which is already on their C10 and B10 models, is very likely to trickle down to the B03X.
That feels like a potential game changer for this segment.
It addresses the single biggest objection to EVs: infrastructure anxiety. If you can offer a compact SUV that drives like an EV, has a cheap entry price, but offers, say, 1,000 kilometers of total range because of a backup generator,
Yeah.
you unlock a huge demographic.
It's the safety net. It bridges that gap. Okay, let's talk about the sharp end of the stick. The price. All this tech sounds expensive. What are the estimates?
The strategy is aggressive. Estimates are placing the starting price under £30,000.
Under 30,000 pounds. In 2026, that is, well, it is aggressive.
It is incredibly competitive. Look at the Peugeot E2008 or the Jeep Avenger cars from the same Stellantis family, mind you. This undercuts them or matches them, while arguably offering better specs on paper.
But here's the elephant in the room. It's a Chinese car. Tariffs are a reality. Supply chains are fragile. How do they get around the import stigma and taxes?
And this is the masterstroke of the Stellantis deal. Currently, yes, these units are imports, but the sources all point to a major shift: local production.
European manufacturing.
Yes, there are strong indications of a start of production in Europe by 2027. And the Stellantis plant in Zaragoza, Spain, is the leading candidate.
That completely changes the narrative.
It does. If you build the car in Zaragoza, it's not a Chinese import anymore. It's a European-built vehicle using global tech. It bypasses tariffs, shortens delivery times, and frankly, it comforts the buyer.
It legitimizes the brand instantly.
You're not buying a car from some mysterious entity. You're buying a car built in a Spanish factory that's been building Corsas and Peugeots for decades. And it allows Stellantis to fill a gap in their own portfolio. They need affordable EVs desperately.
So pulling this all together, the B03X is attempting a very difficult balancing act. It wants to be premium but cheap, small but spacious, high-tech but accessible.
It's the classic have your cake and eat it strategy. But looking at the specs, that 0.26 drag coefficient, the 15-minute charging, the rear-wheel drive platform, they seem to have engineered their way around a lot of the usual compromises.
It feels like the B03X is less about revolutionizing the automobile and more about democratizing the technology. It's taking features that were in 50,000-pound cars 3 years ago and putting them in a 29,000-pound car today.
That is the definition of technological maturity. The innovation here isn't a new invention, it's the packaging and the economics. If they can actually deliver this car at this price, with this build quality, they will force the legacy manufacturers to scramble.
It puts everyone on notice.
Absolutely. It signals that the premium price tag for electric tech is just. It's no longer justifiable.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave the listener with a thought. We talk a lot about brand heritage in this industry. We love the history of a badge, the legacy of a nameplate. But look at the B03X. It has no heritage. It has no history in Europe.
It's a complete blank slate.
Exactly. But if it offers superior utility, better charging, and higher safety specs for a lower price than the brands we grew up with, does the heritage actually matter? At what point does that badge tax become too high for the average consumer to pay? I think the sales figures of the B03X over the next 12 months are going to answer that question very, very clearly.
It's the question that will define the next decade of this industry. Are we buying stories or are we buying specs?
A massive question to chew on. And finally, a sincere thank you to you, the listener. We know you have 1,000 options for where you get your industry news, and we truly appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us, diving into the details. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.